I will tell you a story about Louise and I. In 1986, Louise was a hit in Dominican Republic. He had 6 radio songs. He played in many parties around the island. Everyone adored him everywhere he went. You know, he had a certain sound to him with a guitar.
Yeah.
He can do a continuous riff that everyone liked. Eventually, his band was able to get 6 songs on the radio, 6 hits, and he was known everywhere. He could play in any concert, in any nightclub, and he got the support of the island. His wife was beautiful. She had 6 kids at the time. He was a very warm man, a man that was very giving, or is very giving. He basically was a person who other kids in the neighborhood admired, looked up to. But he had a talent, a great talent, a gift. He gave this gift to the island. He gave everything he had to the island. And in return, he had a good life. People took care of him. Financially, he was doing well. He had 2 houses. He had a car. He had a horse. He had a motorcycle. And a beautiful wife on top of that. And a lot of women who admired him as well from his time on the stage. You know, he was pretty much a star, a well-known bachata artist, which is one of the most popular genres in the Dominican Republic. Known for its exciting guitar sounds, its romantic dance.
Then go into that, into romantic dance. Just get like a phrase of it. Just let that roll for a while. Of course, there are people in the audience that will know it.
Yeah.
And they'll sing
Who
it
could
with
even
you.
play it?
Yeah, and you know they'll sing with you, and then you know just then you go into the story again. Yeah.
All right.
That will give it a very, very beautiful, sweet feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we play it, and now
And then
after they play
and
it,
then we just drop it a little bit, and then you keep talking, and it's in the underground for a while before it fades out completely.
all right. So let's take it from the point the music plays,
Music, yeah.
and now, okay. Louise had a brother in New York who used to send him pictures and used to write him letters as well and tell him about New York and the glamour of it and the wealth that New York had, and show him some of the artists that were in New York, like Elvis Presley.
And then the music of Presley goes on that too.
Hip shake,
Yeah, he shake it,
and the arm, you know.
Yeah.
And Elvis Presley had
Yeah.
huge sideburns,
Yeah.
right? And my father also had the huge sideburns in the 80s and 70s, and the fro.
You've said your father now. You're not supposed to say
Oh.
your father yet.
Louis
had it.
Louis also had the huge sideburns
Yeah.
and the fro
Yeah.
going on with the hairy chest and all that look. Anyway, so Louis became interested in this place called New York after looking at this pictures of the city, the skyline, the Twin Towers, the Statue of Liberty, and the crowds, all the cars, the beautiful cars, the Cadillacs. And so my uncle, so his brother Miguel would tease him about the possibility of joining him in New York. But Louis was having so much success in DR that at the beginning he ignored him. And he just kept playing his music and enjoying the good life as an artist in the Dominican Republic. But one day, he decided after his wife was pregnant with George, that it would be best for him to at least give us the opportunity, or give his children the opportunity to experience New York and to become educated in New York. So he considered migrating there. And after some months of thinking it over and getting a loan from his brother of $30,000 to be paid back with high interest, he packed his bags, kissed his wife goodbye, threw a baseball one last time with his kids, and got on the plane and headed over to New York City. Louis is my dad, actually. And he sacrificed everything. He left everything behind. He loved his success, his music, his band, his hits, his wife, his children, his houses, his horse, his pets, his motorcycle. And he headed over to New York City, to Brooklyn, to meet my uncle, Miguel, the Elvis fan. All right, so he arrives, he's thinking, wow, there's money everywhere. People are telling him, people just throw money in the street in New York. You could pick up gold from the road. That's what he's listening to. That's what he's hearing from his friends. There's gold everywhere here. There's money everywhere. It's just so easy, You wouldn't know what to do with all the money you get here. So he's excited. He's here. He's like, all right, where are the jobs? He gets here. He goes to nightclubs. They don't know who he is. Well, we never heard of you. That's great. You have songs in the island. But over here, who are you? We don't know who you are. They shut the door on him. He went from nightclub to nightclub looking for work. But a lot of places didn't recognize his music, his genre, which is bachata. They didn't know what bachata was. So they didn't want to listen to it. They like disco. They like rock and roll. They like ball music. They like jazz. So he was struggling when he first got here. He was struggling to find work. So he ends up working at a grocery store with my uncle when he first arrives, just to pay for the rent. His rent was $600 per month for a small apartment. He was alone. He was lonely. He would drink every night, play dominoes after work, and eventually he grew tired of that. So he wanted to get away from the grocery store style of work, which involved long hours, like 14-hour shifts, and lots of drinking after the shift. And the routine was to play dominoes and drink. But in his heart, he was always an artist. He longed for music. He longed for the audience, for that satisfaction he got when he was on stage. So he couldn't do this for long. So Louis eventually went knocking on other doors, looking for a job at restaurants, because he was a good cook. And eventually he landed a job at an Italian restaurant as an assistant. But things started looking up a bit. He also landed a gig doing bachata music at a Spanish nightclub in Brooklyn. And he met other artists who were up and coming from the island, who were also struggling to find work. So he got a job on Saturdays playing music in the bachata Latino nightclub. And he was working Monday through Friday at the Italian restaurant as an assistant chef. He started sending money back home to my mom. Things were looking better, but his lifestyle still didn't compare to what he had in the DR. He had no car, no horses, no motorcycle, only parking tickets, and he had no wife. His wife was back in the DR, and all his children and myself were back there. So for the next few years, Louis worked really hard at the nightclubs, drinking all the time. He eventually developed a drinking problem because of it. He became an alcoholic way before my mom came over to New York. And my uncle, the Elvis fan, Miguel, he helped my father a lot. He loaned him $30,000. My father had to start paying it back. So because he was paying back all this money to my uncle, he couldn't get us our green cards right away because he had a debt. He was paying back this money to my uncle and working really hard at the time. And the lifestyle they were living was not the best. They were hanging out a lot. They didn't have a lot of structure. It was just him and his younger brother. They were both in their 30s, running wild. My uncle was a ladies' man, and because he was living the nightlife and basically with different women all the time, my uncle eventually contracted HIV as a artist who was running around the street and sleeping with multiple women. He got sick, and that's when things got complicated, because he was the only person that my father had in New York to look up to for support, for guidance. And that's when my father became even more lonely and more depressed, and he started drinking even more. At that time, my father had been working for about over a year in New York, both jobs, struggling, losing sleep. He had black spots underneath his eyes from not getting enough sleep, from partying, from drinking, from working until 5 in the morning, then coming home with his band and drinking some more, and then waking up at 10 in the morning to go to the Italian restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. That was his struggle. That was the way he was sending money back home to my mom and paying back my uncle at the same time. So eventually he puts together enough money to get us green cards in the Dominican Republic. My mom gets a green card, I get one. My little brother George was born by then. So we fast forward about a year. And my brother Odalis, we all get our green cards. And eventually my dad has grown very tired, and actually he needs the help of my mom. He needs her to work because he's burned out from all the work he was doing in New York and both his jobs. My mom gets there from DR, I get there, I get off the plane, it's super cold. I've never experienced anything like this before. I'm freezing, it's January, I have a little small sweater on. I'm coming from the Caribbean, from a place with coconuts and pina coladas and pineapples, and I'm coming to New York. Everything is so dry and ashy. There's salt everywhere in the street. There's a lot of people screaming and moving very fast and pushing each other. I was confused. I was 3 years old. I didn't understand what was going on. I just had a passport, I had a green card, and I got off a plane, and I noticed, like, on the windows, they have so much junk food. So that made me happy when I got here. I saw the selection of candy, which I didn't have in the island. Everything in the island was more natural. So I'm liking New York as a little kid. But that's because I didn't know what my father was sacrificing to get us there. To me, it was just fun and exciting and new. But to him, it was sleepless. There was a lot of pressure on him. He was paying $30,000 back. And this was 1989. $30,000 was a lot of money back then. The rent was $600. So he put pressure on my mom to work. So my mom had to look for a job. She ends up working at a factory.